Hello and welcome everybody to XTB Live News. My name is Walid Koudmani, market analyst for XTB. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the main events happening in the markets this morning, what we can keep an eye on during the US session, what the main events have been for the economic calendar and what to keep an eye on, and what the main moves have been on the markets with some key levels to keep an eye on when we go and take a look at the charts very shortly. Let's start with a recap of yesterday with the US indices finishing at new all-time highs, S&P, Dow Jones, and Russell. 2000, all three of them at new all-time highs, gaining 1.1%, 0.58%, and 2.31% respectively. This after also we saw a positive session in Asia with stocks in Asia trading higher, with the Nikkei up 1.7% and the Kospi jumped up 1.4%. This is all kind of related as well to the U.S. president signing the 1.9 trillion economic relief bill, which we discussed at the beginning of the week. This was subject to the vote of the House after the vote in the Senate, and it passed both, and then it went and got signed from President Biden. So Treasury Secretary Yellen said that some Americans may receive the $1,400 stimulus checks as soon as this weekend, which if you go and check out the news section on our website, you'll be able to, on the market analysis section, you will be able to find an article kind of outlining the fact that there's studies that show and statistics that show that a certain percentage of that money will be reinvested back into stock markets, which has led to this optimism that we are seeing in the markets, and even especially yesterday with these indices reaching new all-time highs. This is not for all indices though, as I'll go and show in a minute, but definitely positive news. Also, Biden said he wants all adult Americans to be eligible for vaccine shot at the beginning of May, again to further accelerate the recovery from the pandemic and be able to reopen the economy as fast as possible. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, we saw Bitcoin trading around $57,000, so almost nearing its all-time high. But when it comes to cryptocurrencies, they can be very volatile, and sometimes one can affect the price of a lot of others, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. Precious metals, though, are the ones that are suffering today, with gold and silver, as I'll show you in a minute, that are trading lower. Thanks to the optimism and the higher stock markets, but also, as we can, I'm going to show you in a minute, the US dollar is also pressuring these precious metals, as it has been in the past. And in fact, USD is one of, if not the best performing currency today. Well, let's take a look at the economic calendar for today. Not much, nothing major, let's say. We saw CPI inflation from Spain, industrial production from the Eurozone, and US PPI inflation, along with labor market report from Canada. Other than that, we actually are waiting the University of Michigan consumer sentiment for March, so that can give us a little bit of an outline of, or an indication of, the perspectives of the consumers in Michigan when it comes to the US economy and reopening. This will be at 3 p.m. GMT. Now let's move on to the charts. As always, we'll start with the DAX, so the German index. DAX managing to reach new all-time highs after breaking out of this recent range. We can see it reached around 14,594 or 14,600. Then we saw this pullback, and now after crossing the two averages here, the 21 and the 50, we can see that it's starting to pull back, but still remains within this second range, as you can see. So still higher lows, but it remains to be seen with the US session how that will go. The optimism is definitely carrying over into European markets as well. So let's take a look at the UK 100, so the London Stock Exchange. Situation fairly similar to the DAX, but not really, because as I mentioned in the past, the index, the US or the UK index, especially the UK 100, is more impacted by tech stocks, while the DAX and more traditional European indices are not. So you'll be able to see that the UK 100 actually has a little bit more of a similar performance to the US 100 rather than the S&P 500 in the US. So we're seeing UK 100 around 6,734 points, still in the EMA, so still above the EMA and still above the 200 SMA. When it comes to the US indices, as I mentioned, we see that they managed to reach, the S&P managed to reach a new all-time high of 3,958 just yesterday. Slight pullback, but still remains above the recent range and definitely above this low that we saw at the beginning here of last week and at the beginning of the month. We're also seeing this pullback continue, so in the other markets, but as markets open, it remains to be seen if they will be able to rebound from this level, which they are trying to do, or if they will continue to pull back. US 100, so as I mentioned, the US tech stock situation is quite similar, as you can see on the short term, to the S&P. But if we zoom out, you can see that, in fact, the situation is very, very different. Because while the S&P is at a new all-time high, the UK 100, or sorry, the US 100, so the Nasdaq, is actually 1,000 points below its all-time high of 13,900. So still a long way to go, but it seems like a potential double bottom here, and plus this reversal pattern that we are seeing. But it remains to be seen, because this is a previous price reaction area around 13,000 points. Key level, a lot of key levels to break through. And US tech stocks in particular have been the most affected by these this news that we have received. Other than that, let's take a look at commodities. We can see gold, as I mentioned, and silver in particular pulling back, with gold after breaking to a low at the end of last week, or at the beginning of this week, sorry, to 1676. We saw it attempt to rebound and reaching a high of 1739, but then this area, which was a resistance in the past, proved too strong, and we saw this downward move. This is also related to the rising bond yields once again today, I think at 1.6%. So that's also contributing to pressure, plus the positive performance seen in stock markets is not helping. Plus the US dollar is the strongest currency. All these things are factors that are against precious metals, and gold in particular, as a store of value. So we can see since yesterday around 2.5% or 2.3%, and now testing the 1700 level, key level, as you can see, many previous price reactions, and a psychological level at that. Silver, similar situation to gold, but obviously a little bit more practical uses with silver, so it is not exactly the same, but 3.3% down, around 25.5, trading just broke below the Ichimoku cloud on the H1 time frame, and really it remains to be seen if the performance in the indices continue, or if these will be able to recover. Let's take a look at, as I said, Bitcoin real quick. Huge dump right now. We're seeing, as I speak, actually price dropping by about 3%, below 55,000 after reaching a high very close to its all-time high. When it comes to currencies, let's take a look at the market analysis section. USD, strongest currency today, as you can see, trading higher against major, minor currencies, emerging markets, and safe haven currencies, all of the above. Euro, also very, very positive performance, especially after yesterday's decision from the bank, the European Central Bank, to leave the interest rates unchanged, plus a potential revision of the pandemic purchase program. Pound is mixed performance, trading higher against these lower currencies here, while in fact trading lower against this other side, so the USD, CAD, and so on. CAD, very positive performance as well, while the Australian dollar and all of these other currencies are actually trading negatively. Let's take a look at a couple of pairs. We can see the cable pair, so GBP pound, just dropping below 139 right now. We can see that it is now testing also this 150 SMA after reaching a high recently of about 140. So after reaching the high of 140, pull back around 138, 139. We saw this cross of the two averages, 21 and 8, and now testing this area, which is also a key price reaction area. As you can see, acted as a support, acted as a resistance in the past, but mainly acted as a support, as you can see. This is very important to see, because as I'm going to show you on the euro-dollar, euro-USD pair, you can see that this chart on top overlaid is the US dollar index. So as you can see, they are quite symmetrical in the sense that as the USD index rises, we can see a pullback of the euro-USD. This helps me identify in particular if the moves are a result of specific dollar strength or dollar weakness, or a strength of the main currency pair. So we can see that actually today both the euro and the dollar are positive, but the pair is pulling back slightly with one around 119 as the US dollar index rises. But while if we go to euro pound, we can see that actually on the daily, but even on the hourly, if we go, you'll see that since the pound is actually worse performing than the dollar and the euro, we are seeing this euro gain. So it's actually, this is a product mainly of US dollar strength. And I think that's all for today. Today, again, Friday, the 12th of March. Thank you very much for watching and paying attention. My name is Walid Koudmani, market analyst for XTB. Thank you. Good luck with your trading, and have a good weekend.